I'm happy to introduce Eduard Varvara, lead application developer at MassMutual, a life insurance company that provides financial products for a stress-free life. Eduard is a solutions architect and part of the Barings team, if I got it right, a MassMutual partner. He has a background in automation and approaches new endeavors with pen and paper to understand the situation and provide solutions. His philosophy is to compare himself to who he was yesterday, not to someone else who is today. Let's find out more about him. Let's welcome him. Warm applause.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eduard Varvara, but you can call me for short Eddie. And today we are going to talk about Barings and what we are doing here in Romania. Okay, so just a couple of introduction words. Funny story is that only yesterday, last night around 11:30 p.m., I got the final approval from the from our teams that from the compliance teams that everything is going okay with the presentation and I can safely present what I have to tell you about today. So in a couple of quick minutes, we are going to talk about who is Barings. And following that, we will be discussing about how we entered in Romania, what was our journey, following with some of our goals about what we want to do at Barings, our journey, what's the process, what drives us to change the current things that we have. And then we will be showing you guys a bit our teams, who they are, what we are doing, and then towards the end, maybe a couple of minutes for a Q&A session. So, Barings. Barings, it's a company that's being owned by MassMutual. We have a global presence in North America, Europe, Asia, and Pacific. We are basically investing into public and private fixed incomes, real estates, and equity markets. As you can see on the slide, we have 3,071 billion in assets under management, which we are currently holding. And just between us, we are the 36th company in the world with the amounts of assets under management that we have. We only have 1,800 employees. However, our 1,200 clients help us move forward. So our journey started in 2022, where at the beginning of the year, we got a request that we need 30 specialists to start working on our initiatives. It was a very interesting process, to say the least, because all of us know that you can't pull out 30 employees or 30 specialists overnight and make sure that all their needs are met and find all the right people, but it was an interesting journey, to say the least. As things move along, we had a visit from our CIO, which is Javad Malik, and he visited for the first time our offices here in Cluj. It was a very interesting time meeting him and getting to know what is his vision and how we're basically help us to identify what are we doing in Romania, how will that affect Barings on a global scale. Following that, we also had a couple of our colleagues that went to States because we didn't know who Barings was, so we had people that started to work in Romania, we had offices in UK, we have offices in the States. It's okay and fine to talk over Teams and do video conferences and write emails, but as long as you don't meet the actual persons face to face, you can't really connect with them. So it was very important for us to get that connection so that we can ultimately build trust between us and Barings. Some other cool facts about Barings. Yes, today I think we are around 51 colleagues in Romania, and we are continually growing our colleagues. A lot of work is being sent over here because we have proven ourselves, our capabilities, our thought process, and the way we address a problem or the way we find a solution. So that number will continue to grow. Our goals. Basically, when we started, the goal that I'm going to talk about was already in place. And when we arrived, we look at the situation. We already had a plan. We already had a layout, a map of what we are trying to do and how we are trying to do. And Barings was looking at their applications, the way they store the data, the way they use the data, the way they build on what they have, how quickly they can implement a new change. And they saw all of these problems, and they decided that it would be a good idea to radically shift their whole paradigm about how software will enable business development. That being said, this is part of our initiative right now, in which we are trying to decommission many applications with this new initiative, build up new applications that are cloud native and will basically offer to our teams a way better solution to understand, make decisions, and drive more business towards the market. Our teams. So I'm going to talk about 3 types of teams that we have. Basically, here in Romania at the moment, we have 3 teams, 3 big types of teams. Data teams, software development teams, and of course, the cloud and IT operation teams. We are going to talk about the data teams first. In Romania at the moment, we have 6 data teams, and they are composed with people from Cluj, Bucharest, Iași, Timișoara, and I think some other cities as well, if I recall correctly. However, the first team is basically building an ETL framework that will allow a better data integration and a transformation layer between our businesses. The scope of this project is to basically enable a code-free platform that will allow easy ingestion and export for generic data sets. This translates to allowing our internal teams basically to better work with the data that we have and allow a smoother transition on what's going on and how we can figure out how to make decisions. The second team, which we are calling the Data API team, this is basically the team that's building up our data APIs, because the idea is that we don't want each of our consumer to have direct access to a data store. That's not a good practice. We don't want to do that. And the idea is that with this team, we are basically providing a way better solution of consuming the data and making sure that we don't have copies of that data in multiple systems. We have data integrity, and it also allows us to communicate back and forth between systems, downstream systems, or other higher level systems. The third team is basically building up a system that will provide a better way of interpreting the data. And this means that in some situations you are looking at the data, but you don't really understand what that data means. Or multiple teams might look at the same data, but they have different definitions of that data. This team basically allows a much more better understanding of what we are reading, and also a very big paradigm in programming is establishing the point of truth. Basically understanding who owns the data, who reads it, but most importantly, who has access to modify that particular data. Our fourth team that we have here in Romania is basically designing data structures for data stores and a semantic data layer. I have no idea what that means, but bear with me. Another thing that this particular team is doing is making sure that we also figure out when we are looking at the data, if the data that we are actually reading makes sense from a business perspective. Meaning that we can imply validations about how a particular field should look like, but at the end of the day, we are not entirely sure if what we are reading is actually the real deal, so to speak. The fifth theme is working on a data analysis. And this particular team is using multiple sources to ingest those files. So those files can be text files, CSV files, PDF files, and many other formats. The idea is that we take that data from those files, and then we are analyzing them to figure out how we can build a model that can be used in our reports. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of teams that want to see what's going on in the system with the transactions that we make, and basically this particular team will allow those users to run predefined reports, but also custom reports. And of course, it's a report scheduler. Everyone knows what that means. Last but not least, we have our sixth team, and it covers basically a large request for BI tools. They support all the other teams at Barings that are developing and maintaining and governing their reports, and also they help with automating various tasks. That's it about the data teams. Now we can go a bit into software development teams where I can speak more freely. Here in Romania, at the moment, we are working on 3 projects. The first project is a project that was built in order to allow, let's say, power users that need to connect to data in a particular manner, see that data and maybe save it as a PDF or use it to ingest into somewhere else. The idea of this project was that instead of having dedicated development teams building up custom web applications for each of those use cases, we decided that it would be a best approach to build an application that will allow users to connect to different data sources, see the results in their web app, and then take it from there without any, specific requirements in terms of I need this feature, I need that functionality, I need this, 5 pixels to the left, I need another logo or anything else like that. Our second application, I think it may be the only public-facing application that we have at the moment. And what we want to do basically is we were looking at what we have in terms of how are our clients how they see their information inside Barings. And this new application basically is making sure that we offer them a different type of experience to see what's going on with their investments. It targets both existing clients and new clients. The third application and the third team, and here is basically where I'm working. What we want to do basically is building up a research portal that will allow Barings teams to make better decisions when it comes to looking at the global market, trying to figure out how they should decide or act upon various scenarios or various things that are happening inside the market. The idea is that we want this application to be mobile friendly, and it will emphasize a bit the communication between different investment teams in Barings, and also it's built upon serverless architecture with microservices, all the good stuff. In some situations, this application, of course, will have its own data storage. However, most of the times we will be integrating with some of the data models and data structures that our data teams are building. It's also being built with scalability in mind, but I'm not talking about, classical scalability in terms of I can scale horizontally or vertically based on number of users and CPU resources and all that kind of stuff. But we are also talking about business scalability, which means how fast can we integrate inside this application new requirements or new specific features that are required for other teams to operate within the same web application. Last but not least, we have our cloud team, which is cloud and IT operations. The idea is that at the moment we do want most of our applications, all of our applications, to be cloud native, and this was very emphasized on the whole initiative. Everything that we are developing as a new application, it's going to be cloud native. However, at the same time, we are looking at our current on-prem applications and figure out what would be the best approach on migrating them to cloud. This means that we have to also pay attention to the dependencies that those applications have. We have to set up particular intake processes to discover what those application needs in terms of cloud resources. Because at the end of the day, yes, we do want to keep an eye on the cost. It's not, Wild Wild West where you can just pick whatever you like and you're closing an eye at the cost. We don't do that here. And we also want to emphasize a bit on establishing the governance and operational structures, putting guards in place when it comes to how our resources are being used, define certain KPIs in which we can better understand if we are using the right resources for the right use cases. And sometimes those answers might not come during development. They might come maybe a month or two after that particular application is live, and we can actually see the number of requests, the payloads that are being transferred, the uptime, the downtime, and so on and so forth. In short, as a conclusion, it was a very fun experience for me to work at Barings, though first I started at MassMutual. And then I started at MassMutual in 2021. I think I was among the first employees in Cluj when we opened the office. It was a fun experience at MassMutual as well, but when I saw what we are doing at Barings, I jumped the ship over to Barings, and I started to work at Barings since 1st of August. I can say that it was a nice experience working with a team that really emphasized the digital transformation and making that actual decision of going into that direction. It's a fun experience to see how things are moving along and how their decision process works. And I've learned quite a few things just by looking at some other colleagues in the States or in UK. It was really a nice experience for me to build something, build applications, and figure out how they integrate with each other, and then try not to cry when we have a problem or a dependency for someone else or something else. It's a really good thing. That being said, I open the floor for questions.
Thank you. But just to make sure it's okay to cry.
So I see Barings have a lot of asset under management and probably not a lot of customers. And it sounds like a quite conservative company. So how they are open to the change when it goes to digitalization?
So your question was how are we reacting to change? We do have what I see on my current project is that we do have a very good collaboration with the business team. We have a very capable product owner that really understands how Barings is operating. He was with the company, I think, since 10 or 12 years ago. So he really has a deep understanding of how the investment teams are operating, what are their specific requirements and needs, and then he gets that information, and then usually we work together to figure out a particular solution. Of course, it's a cyclic process because sometimes we might provide a solution that makes sense from a technical perspective, but it doesn't make sense from a business perspective. We had some weird requests, requirements that we had to implement. We tried to find the common ground, but to be honest, I think towards the end of the day, it's more along the lines of you win some, you lose some, and the small battles that you are losing, you try to, from an architectural point of view or from a coding point of view, you try to make them as good as possible, in order to keep in line with the, overall theme and overall architecture. In some situations, we get with the business very fast in terms of, oh, you want this, I have the solution, this is what we are proposing, this is what we are thinking, that works fine with us, okay, go start doing it. So it's a very fast-paced environment from that point of view. Now, in regards to how we are onboarding new clients and all that stuff, I don't know that piece.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Time's up. And it's amazing. I mean, he has the biggest team here, so supportive. Let's give him an applause here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.